What's a word or phrase that immediately makes you lose respect for someone? Story 1. Alpha. I have a buddy who said if you learn to bow hunt, that's like peak alpha energy. The other day, and I can't look at him the same. Answer. Similarly, when I worked in a snowy area known for skiing, a coworker looked me dead in the eyes and told me, "I'm gonna go shred some fresh pow pow." Took me a while to figure out that he was referring to skiing after a snow. When I told that story to another coworker, it reminded them of a similar interaction they'd had with Pow Pow Guy. They had asked him something about coffee. I don't remember what. And he responded, "Yeah, dude, I work the Bucks." My friend was like, "Huh? The Bucks?" And Pow Pow Guy responds, "Like my friend is a total idiot. Starbucks? Question mark." Story 2. Why don't you respect me? Or respect your elders? By default, I respect people. If they don't acknowledge my respect, it's because they see respect as bending over backwards to please them. No, no, and again, hell no. Story 3. Something along the lines of, "I'm blunt," or "I'm just brutally honest," or "I tell it like it is." Like you're not brutally honest, you just like to be brutal. Answer. I'm autistic and was raised by Dutch people in an Anglo society. I am blunt and direct in my speech. But other people tell me that I don't crow about it, and most of the unusually blunt and direct things that I say to people are compliments, which the "I'm brutally honest" people never apply that mentality to. They only use it as an excuse to be a jerk. Story 4. Did you eliminate anybody while you were in? They ask with excitement whenever they ask as well. I'm a 100 disabled vet. A massive chunk of that is for mental health issues caused by my service. I immediately can't stand you if you ask such an insanely offensive question. I was a medic. I didn't join to eliminate. Even if I had been infantry though, why would you ask that? Who fudge asks that? Answer. Seriously, my Opa fought on the German side in World War II before immigrating to the U.S. with my Oma and uncle. Up to his final months, he'd sometimes reflect on the fact that he eliminated people during the war and what kind of man that made him. It didn't seem like something he took lightly, and anyone who takes eliminate another human lightly enough to ask a war veteran about it is a walking red flag. Story 5. If you can't handle me at my worst, etc. You're basically just saying that I should expect you to be a shoot person. Story 6. Who cares? If I throw trash outside, someone is going to pick it up. It's their job. That rubs me the wrong way every time. Story 7. One day, I was on maintenance at a Walmart. Our store manager was very disrespectful towards everyone under her. On this day, she calls for maintenance to the frozen aisle for a spill. That sounds simple enough as I reach for my radio. But then, she tacks on, "And don't keep me waiting." Every lead that has a radio heard it. The three of us on maintenance all heard it too. I calmly grabbed my radio to respond after about 6 seconds after her comment. Total silence after that. "This is maintenance. I'm on my way." No one on maintenance was slow. Each on us can reach about any side of the store in about roughly 3 to 6 minutes, depending on what task we're currently doing. All the leads know this, so we never really had a problem with them. This store manager has transferred to our store 2 months prior and immediately starts disrespecting everyone underneath her. I grab my cart and begin moving to frozen, starting a timer on my phone and counting my time till I reach freeze, only about 3 and some change. I turned the corner, and there she was, alone, standing over some frozen peas spilled on the ground. I haven't even finished clearing the corner into the aisle before she starts mouthing off on how long it takes us to clean up spills and that she shouldn't be having to wait this long. Blah, blah, blah. I remind her that it's only been 3.5 minutes since you called. "Well, then you need to be faster," she states. "The only way that can happen is if we were literally in the next aisle over too." I respond calmly. We go back and forth a few more times. I never raised my voice while she raised hers. Then she says this gem. "Look here. I don't need this back talk. You need to respect me." To this day, I don't know why, but this sent me into the red. I felt my blood boil, heat raise, and my body shook with anger. I don't remember what I said, but I blew up on her though. Within that week, I found my now current job and left that meanie. TLDR. Don't disrespect someone and then demand respect back. Story 8. That study is biased, without explanation. I dislike when people ask for evidence of a claim, are provided evidence, and without reading the evidence or critiquing the evidence, they just reject it. What do these idiots want? God himself to come down and confirm that it's accurate? Answer. There was a recent study that, again, proved autism and vaccines are completely unrelated, and there was so many comments asking, "Yeah, but who paid for the study?" or "Study brought to you by Pfizer. In the study itself, it tells you that financing is 100 from the university with undirected donations and funding. There can be no donor bias because there's no donor to make happy. Story 9. I've said sorry so many times, or I already apologized. No, you don't get to decide when someone forgives you. Story 10. Unalive, grape, and things of that nature. I get that they are doing it to get around a censor, but often there is no censor. It was a TikTok thing, right? So why is it happening everywhere? I feel like it minimizes these really horrible things and makes it difficult to understand when something needs to be taken seriously. Tragic end and takedown are serious things. Violation is very serious. They're turning it into an episode of Barney with this preschool speak. Answer. I had a teacher who used the word unalive to talk about a patient she had in the past or something related to her experience in nursing. I'm like, girl, we're working in a field where we see the absolute most traumatic moments of people's lives. Why are we using that term? She is a very nice lady and she has younger kids, so maybe that's why. Maybe the TikTok speak kind of took over, but as a rule, I feel like those terms are stupid. Story 11. Did you hear what happened in the U.S.? Yes, I did. Multiple times already. Please stop talking about it. I'm trying to keep sane. Story 12. How does this affect you personally? My mom actually said this when I was expressing how upset I was hearing about family separations at the border. I don't need to be punched in the face to know it will be painful. And if I want to live in a peaceful place, I need neighbors who feel safe or respected. Story 13. Sheeple. Used by people who are trying to stand out as independent thinkers, when in reality, they are just not very intelligent and don't think things through. I have never heard an intelligent person using the term. It is usually some whacked-out conspiracy theorist. Story 14. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? After every third word said. Yes, I get it after you asked me 15 times in 4 sentences. Story 15. I was out at dinner with a few couples who are friends or friends of my wife. It was a nice place. We were all having a nice time. Then one of the women dropped an N-bomb. Hard R. I couldn't leave, so I sat there silently for the next hour. Didn't acknowledge her or say goodbye to her. I've never met this person. We were all out having a nice time and spending good money, and she feels comfortable enough to say that. Trash. Story 16. Everyone who doesn't like me is just jealous. Sometimes people don't like you because you're a shoot person. Doesn't matter how successful you think you are. Story 17. That's just their opinion. You have to respect their opinion. No, I do not. Some opinions, believe it or not, are dog shoot. You need to respect that there is person behind that opinion, and they deserve respect, safety, and humanity, even if that opinion is in direct conflict with you. There are, however, some opinions that are rooted in hatred, disrespect, and a desire to cause harm. And you can never let yourself be duped into respecting the idea just because there is a human being saying it. Hitler had the opinion that we should eliminate Jewish people. Do you respect that opinion? Would you tell his victims that they should just respect his opinion? Sounds stupid, doesn't it? Opinions can be wrong. Story 18. Both sides are at fault. No. One side may be feckless, but the other is actively burning the house down. Story 19. As a good Christian, it should be an assertion of good works and intentions, but now it's just regressive and prejudicial. My parents were good Christians, not good Christians. They loved their neighbors, helped the needy, and loved their children's gay friends as extensions of the family. They would be appalled at what good Christian has evolved into. Story 20. I have a dark sense of humor, proceeds to just be racist. A dark sense of humor is me making the joke that I eliminate my husband because I turned off his machines. Makes people real uncomfortable, especially since it's true. Story 21. I can't believe she didn't say anything about social political issue trending at the moment yet. Let's boycott. And meanwhile, they're laying in bed, doing nothing, but demanding from others. News flash. There's horrible things happening everywhere. You're not special by advocating for one of them, especially when it's trendy. A lot of this issue's already existed, but most people didn't even knew or cared about it beforehand, or hope this helps. Standard, annoying, self-righteous phrase. Story 22. Lately it's, I'm not anti-immigrant. I just want them to do it the right way. A, you clearly are anti-immigrant. B, you have no idea what you are talking about or what the process actually is that you've assumed is so simple without actually looking into it. C, usually if not always said by a racist who is specifically talking about non-white immigrants. D, usually if not always said by someone who just voted for someone who's used mass deportation now as a campaign slogan. E, often said by someone who doesn't know the difference between immigrants and refugees, asylum seekers who literally are doing it the right way just by showing up and presenting themselves. F, usually said by someone whose own ancestors were immigrants, probably before there even was a hypothetical right way to do it, they just showed up. G, often said by people whose justification is something like, America is full. Why don't you take a road trip through the Mountain West and get back to me about how Americans are living cheek by jowl? I, the person is generally either unaware because they only consume right-wing media or no current events media at all, or deliberately avoiding the fact that many of the people currently being kidnapped by ICE are doing it the right way by showing up to their court hearings, etc., to go through the legal process that's literally where ICE agents are going to snatch them up from outside the courtroom and send them to for-profit immigrant jails. My mother is a frequent offender for this, thinks she sounds reasonable with this. Why can't they just do it the right way? Nonsense line, but literally has no idea what she's talking about and is just racist, and probably wouldn't bat an eye if the person who didn't do it the right way came from Western Europe. She also has absolute reverence for her grandmother, who immigrated from, you guessed it, Europe, arriving with nothing because she was poor in her home country and seeking a better life. You know, like most of today's immigrants who are suddenly a big problem, even though the economy massively benefits from their labor and tax dollars. Story 23. Anyone who unironically uses the hard times make hard men make soft times, etc. Bullshit. Humanity is a story of regular people rising to meet the challenges of their time, regardless of what came before or how soft they are. Story 24. Using the R word. There's no reason to use it. It's derogatory. I don't care if you are just using it as slang. There are 1,000 other words that would better make your point. Story 25. When someone uses the fact that they pay taxes to bully or belittle people who work for public systems. I pay your salary. No, you don't. You pay taxes to the government who redistributes the funds for the public interest, and the government pays my salary. Because if that is the threshold, then I'm my own boss because I pay taxes too. Story 26. Woke. Based on a single syllable, you know the person is a mediocre, lazy person who leans on blaming external factors for their own mediocrity. Story 27. Grown adults texting like preteens, emojis, no punctuation, excessive use of shorthand, entire lack of any capital letters. Story 28. Female, in regards to women. Not as an adjective, e.g., female officer, but rather as a noun. Will there be females there? It's involuntary, but I instantly see that person as a Ferengi. Story 29. I just tell it like it is. Or, I'm just brutally honest. Just a way to say I bark at others to cover up my own insecurities. Story 30. When someone uses the phrasing victim complex or victim mentality, to me it shows a clear lack of understanding of what trauma does to a person. Story 31. Any MAGA-related phrase or ideology, that's a non-negotiable. I can deal with those people in a professional setting, but they will never be allowed into my inner circle. Story 32. When they refer to people as objects with object qualities. A boss once told me that I have to select workers with the proper pedigree. It does not feel right. Story 33. There is a chain of command, and you don't go above it at all. When dealing with managers in a toxic working environment, they are saying that to protect their own butt. They will bury whatever issue you have and spin your words to make you out to be the problem. Story 34. Someone I know referred to their coworkers. Note, they're not even a business owner, which wouldn't make it any better, but which would make for a more approachable consideration of what the fudge is wrong with you, as their underlings extremely casually. Any respect, which was hanging by a thread and had mostly deteriorated anyway with the more I heard them talk, just went fudge poof. Story 35. Making fun of someone for getting emotional. Sadly super common as a teacher. The amount of times I've been awkwardly standing in a group that's making fun of children for crying. Story 36. It's God's plan. Sigh. So the plan was to attempt, and nearly, to eliminate my son by a stranger. What a dickish plan. Story 37. You have to respect people's beliefs. No, I don't. I respect people's rights to hold their beliefs. The beliefs themselves are not inherently entitled to respect. Story 38. I have a PhD. Good for you if you do, but if you can't win an argument without pointing that out, you are trouble. Story 39. My mom's boyfriend yelled at me yesterday for not locking the door I was just about to leave out. How can I lock it when I'm walking to it? He's old-fashioned BTW. He thinks if you yell at kids, it'll make them respect you. Fudge him. He smokes Newports, so he's already suffering. Story 40. That's just like your opinion, man. First, because it's typically said by people who don't know the difference between fact and opinion. And second, because in my opinion, that movie is insufferable trash. Story 41. If they claim to be brutally honest, usually means they're an a-hole who makes excuses for their poor behavior. Story 42. When a colleague says, "Do you remember when we discussed that?" F you. I didn't forget because I'm old or have Alzheimer's. I forgot because I'm completely overwhelmed at work and have way too much to do. Story 43. Make America great again. In theory, yes. But how it's used politically is make America for whites again. Story 44. Anyone who uses woke, politically correct, or PC, social justice warrior, or SJW, etc., as an insult is trash. Second place goes to the use of other buzzwords or phrases like NPC, blue hair, cuck, and virtue signaling. I realize that some people use some of these terms simply because they've become popular, but it still makes me lose respect for someone if they don't think about where their language comes from. Story 45. When someone says whatever, it just screams immaturity to me. It's hard to take them seriously after that. Story 46. Using the word Antifa as an insult. Bruh, if you aren't Antifa, you're fascist, and I don't fudge with fascists. Story 47. Call me Dr. Insert Last Name. From a PhD in normal conversations or when passing in the hall. Professional conversations, meetings with clients, sure, no problem. But seriously, guy expecting everyone to say, "Hi, doctor," if we pass in the bathroom is a bit over the top. Story 48. You can't say anything these days. Seriously, if I ever utter these words, it'd like someone to end me. Story 49. I only care about myself. I once received this from someone that I really cared the most, and I did not even expect to hear that phrase from him. I did not get mad or angry, just got sad, disappointed, and disgusted. Story 50. I love you, but, I'm sorry, but, if you're going to add that but in there, you may as well not say any of the BS filler that came before it. Story 51. Getting reminded to call someone doctor or professor, whatever. I'm not going to make you call me captain. Shoot is obnoxious. Story 52. It is what it is. Like, I won't immediately lose respect if you say it a few times, but if it's your go-to response to everything, makes me feel like you're just lying down and letting the world run over you. Story 53. I asked ChatGPT, brother, let me stop you right there. If you yourself can't be physically bothered to use the 3 pounds of slime sitting in your skull pan to formulate a response and talk to me, why the fudge would I be willing to waste that energy on you? Story 54. Are you calling me a liar? I've only heard this phrase by people who have literally lied and have been caught in it. They say this thinking the person won't go that far to call them a liar, thus giving said liar a way of avoiding accountability. Story 55. People who say Cali when they mean California. People who tack going forward to the end of a sentence. The verb establishes the tense, useless and redundant. Story 56. God is love. Absolutely disgusting thing to say if you actually know what the fudge this God allows to happen on earth and allows hell to exist with all the other horrors that he committed in the Bible. Story 57. Recently had a guy tell me, I'm just being real always. Never sugarcoat things as a defense for a veiled racist text. My guy, be real. All you want somewhere else. Story 58. Never mind. Tell me, why would you make me wait for your response to something, then think you can drop whatever you were going to say? Story 59. Because Mercury is in retrograde. No, sweetie, the planet over 28 million miles away is not impacting your ability to form a sentence. Story 60. When someone tries to be bigger than they actually are, it's not really a phrase. It's just the way they act. There are phrases to it. Do you know who I am? I know so-and-so. And X person gave me this. Yeah, all that. I don't give a fudge. You are nobody and you will be treated as such. I used to work in food. These people are a dime a dozen. Story 61. I'm not racist, but any vulgar swear words, especially ones that mention saints. I'm not religious by any means, but it's very trashy and cringy. Some people just don't know how to utter a sentence without swearing. They go, yeah, and then I goddammit called them, and fudge Madonna told him to buy some Jesus come tomatoes. I don't mind saying fudge or shoot. Hell, even I say those things all the time. But to cuss unnecessarily when you're not even trying to emphasize anything is annoying. Oh, I'm a car now. Get it? I switched my identity because that's trendy now. Meanwhile, no one laughs. Story 62. Retard. It's 2025. Catch up. There are so many other words that more accurately describe what you're going for. And we've heard from so many people with disabilities who say, this word is hurtful. Just be better. Story 63. Seer. When at the end of someone's name. Like you had the audacity to name your son after yourself, not just the surname. Story 64. I'm friends with the owner. Well, that's cool and all, but the owner likes me so much they pay me to be here. Story 65. Boys will be boys, usually because it's used to justify a grown man doing something awful. Not only does it justify bad actions, but it lumps all other men in with the person in question. Never a good look. Story 66. When someone is clearly in the wrong and should apologize, but they say, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not an apology. That's a way for you to get away with garbage behavior. Story 67. Idiocracy is a documentary. Wow, so deep. No one's thought of that one before. It's the same vein as, money's just paper, bro. Story 68. I'm not racist, but thank you. Now I don't have to listen to you anymore because you have nothing worthwhile to say. Story 69. As a mother to 2 biracial sons, my phrase is, what is he? And it's only white people who ask that. He is a little boy. Thank you. Story 70. If you say the words, my truth, your truth, or make reference to any zodiac sign unironically, I will disregard everything you say. Story 71. That's so cringe. Absolutely not. You just have a heart that is too small and shriveled and dark to allow people to find joy and live freely and express themselves in the way that makes them happy. It's not cringe. You just never matured past your high school mean girl era. And another one. I only like guys who are specific height or above. That's ridiculous that you think it's okay to judge men based on their height and then turn around and say men can't judge women for their weight. Again, these people seem like they never grew beyond high school level maturity. You don't have to date anyone you're not attracted to, but you don't need to shame men for being short. That's just immature. Story 72. Dog mom dad, fur baby, pet parent, cat mom dad. You're not a parent. 9-10. You're some lonely person who doesn't know how to interact with real people. A result, you resort to humanizing animals. Story 73. When an adult is losing an argument, valid rebuttal, against their own child, so they go off about how disrespectful they are for being right. Story 74. Woke, not said as a joke, and toxins and femoid, and slurs that are racist, homophobic, sexist, or transphobic. Story 75. That they know people and acting like it's some big deal. It just annoys me when people have to try and flaunt their network. I don't mean any jealousy. I just feel it's kind of cringy. Story 76. Calling people snowflakes or using the word woke incorrectly in a derogatory manner. Also, I'm not very religious necessarily, but it rubs me the wrong way to hear people refer to God, Allah Hetzri, as Sky Daddy. It feels really smarmy and dismissive. Story 77. Every single person who has told me to do my own research has had little to no exposure to or involvement in actual academic or scientific research. Story 78. Female. As a noun, not only is it grammatically incorrect, it also shows how much someone doesn't respect women. It's like saying the blacks when referring to black people. It shows that someone doesn't really see someone else as human as them. Story 79. Rants about current or past government's politics. They screw everyone. I don't care about who you like or don't like. Politics. While you rage and scream, they are out there dancing, never thinking about you even once. Story 80. I'm an alpha. My own father, who used to make fun of douchebags, but has since gone full MAGA, actually said this to me a few years ago. A part of me died that day. Story 81. High value, females, calling someone a gold digger. Anything that signals that they might be a misogynist or a pick-me. Anyone who says anything that shows that they're highly religious. Story 82. Fake news media. I remember Dr. Drew saying that back in March 2020, when COVID was just becoming a big deal. He was like, "This is the problem with the fake news media." And I immediately realized, welp, Dr. Drew's just a credibility-free right-wing stooge now, I guess. Like, even if his opinion as a doctor is that COVID isn't as serious as everyone was saying, the news merely reporting on the passing, hospitalizations, and lockdowns is not fake. Using that term outs you as someone who believes the word of Donald Trump over all other sources. Story 83. Well, that's how we did it, so should you. Usually the response is given by boomers who can't accept that there is an easier and better way forward, and we must suffer like they did. Story 84. Using biblical quotes or phrases to act like they're superior to others. I am a religious person, and the intent of the scriptures are not to use them to fill a superiority complex. Story 85. When they say you need therapy, or you need help in a political argument, assuming that an opinion you disagree with is the result of mental illness, reeks of ableism, and stigmatizes therapy for people like myself who seek it out voluntarily because of real mental health problems. Story 86. People who say "ax" instead of "ask," or say "especially." For some unknown reason, it's like fingernails on the chalkboard of my soul. Story 87. All parties are the same. That tells me you don't pay attention to legislation, policy, and what experts, not rage baiters, are saying. Story 88. Per se. It's per se, and even if you spell it correctly, it doesn't mean necessarily. I've also seen it used as a stand-in for as a figure of speech, which is an extra level of wrong. Story 89. Feel some type of way. What type of way would that be? There are hundreds of emotions. Choose the one that best fits. This sort of phrase degrades language to the point of stupidity, and I can't stand it. Use your goddamn words. Story 90. Simp. Usually spoken by dudes who appreciate good old DV, DA, and absolutely wore Axe body spray in high school. Story 91. Finna. I'm British, so I haven't heard anyone say that here yet, but I would instantly dislike them if they did. Story 92. Elbows up! Most of the people saying it don't know what it means. It's a reference to Gordie Howe, my hometown hero, smashing everyone's faces in with cheap shot elbows, not looking like you're standing your ground when your PM knuckles under at every turn. Story 93. When someone acts like a complete jerk, is called out about and says, "It's just the way I am," that's when it's time to walk away. Story 94. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. No TF, you are not entitled to a factually incorrect opinion. Story 95. Intentionally dehumanizing, negatively, statements that place you, the sayer, speaker, in supremacy or superiority. Story 96. Any phrase relating to a side in a political conflict that I know they've taken over without question from somewhere online. At that point, I don't assume they are thinking for themselves. They only know how to copy clone other opinions, and it's sad. Story 97. Excessive likes or dudes. A few here or there, sigh. I guess that's okay. They slip in. Fine. But if it's your stumble fill in the silence word, get out. You're done. Story 98. I'm an empath. Super nice, really self-aware. Translation. I have an inflated sense of self because I project my emotions onto other people. Have a hard time saying no. I'm selectively self-conscious. Story 99. Well, actually, and then they also preach to respect every person on earth. Argumentation over any petty thing is a clear sign that they lack self-confidence. They're looking for people they can bully or fights or ways to feel like they won something. Go buy a fudge scratch-off cunt. Story 100. It's a masterclass. Is it? Really? Feels like a grift to me, but okay. That phrase is fudge everywhere. Story 101. Any sort of sweeping statement or aphorism for life just irks me, whether it's a proverb like opposites attract or birds of a feather flock together, or something like, in my experience, men are usually, women generally. It's just laziness, IMO. The first one is a bit of a pet peeve. But the second one, the sweeping statements, really bother me. Story 102. Your disorder doesn't define you. It's not who you are. Usually it'd say hell yeah, but when it's directed towards my personality disorder, I'm confused ASF. Story 103. No offense, but something incredibly rude and hurtful is about to come out of their mouth, and they think the disclaimer makes it okay. Story 104. Hot take alert for me. It's when someone says, "I'm just brutally honest." Like, no, you're just kind of rude, Becky. There's a big difference between honesty and just lacking tact, you feel me? Story 105. Big Pharma. It's usually used in conjunction with someone selling some woo-woo bullshit. It's gotta be the most eye-rolling thing I can hear someone say. Story 106. You wouldn't get it. You're a man-woman. You wouldn't get it. You're a kid. You wouldn't get it. You're a... Insert completely irrelevant demographic. 1. That's invalidating as fudge. People are individuals. You don't know what they do or don't understand. 2. That's what communication is for. If you don't want to explain it, then just say that. Don't say I won't get it because I'm not part of whatever secret magical club you're a part of. 3. It's never true. Every person that has ever said any variation of this to me just didn't like that I didn't agree with them on something, or called them out for a shoot behavior mentality. Story 107. I'm a insert political party online group movement supporter. Yeah? Okay, I didn't ask. I just want to know how long we have left on Smoko. Story 108. As a fill in blank. Why does everyone feel the need to categorize themselves, as though everyone with ADHD acts or feels the same way? Story 109. Well, that's my opinion. When dealing with something that is factual and not opinion-based. It's my opinion the earth is flat, and you need to respect my opinion. Story 110. Oh, it's just because I am autistic, haha he he. Without ever having received an official diagnosis, it seems to be the excuse for everything. Jerk. Story 111. I have trouble maintaining respect for someone if they pronounce didn't, wouldn't, couldn't as D-in, woe-in, co-in. I have no idea what that's called. There's bound to be a name for it, but it's an affront to the English language. Story 112. We're a family here. No, you're a boss manager who asks for too much and guilt trips your employees when they have lives and plans, and any attempt at a work-life balance. Story 113. You people, insert poorly researched microaggression against the marginalized community. Or, wow, if a white person did, insert something they have been doing for centuries already, then we would be racist. Story 114. Don't you know who I am? No, and I don't want to. Reeks of entitlement. I pay your wages. No, you don't. I know the manager owner. No way. Me too. Can you tell I work in hospitality? Story 115. The ones who are like, whoa, I'm so autistic, for liking to collect toys or some similar nonsense that isn't strictly related to autism. Story 116. When someone says liberal, not in an I'm a liberal, but liberals do XYZ, I immediately know you are ops, and I'm out. Story 117. Yeah, my parents are narcissists. I know there are plenty of actual parents who care more about themselves than their kids. But 95, when I hear someone say that and they tell me the story, I come to the conclusion that they are the actual narcissist. Story 118. You're there too sensitive. It's pushing accountability off oneself and onto the hurt person in question. Story 119. I promise that I'll try. My parents saying this, then going off to do something else, forgetting their promise. Story 120. Usually when someone says all, followed by something that isn't all, certain type of person. Example, all men, all women, etc. Story 121. A man in his late 40s asking, do you have Snap? No. Sir, I do not, as I am a whole-grown arse 34-year-old woman who deleted that app when she was 23, now actually fears for what is on your phone. Story 122. Well, according to the Bible or anything along those lines, if anyone uses the Bible or God to justify anything, I lose all respect for them immediately. I have never met any human beings who are doing something gracious and beautiful and using God or the Bible to justify it. No one is like, I'm loving my neighbor because the Bible says so or because God said so. People only say abortion is takedown. The Bible says, so women should be subservient to men. It's the name of God, blah, 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 blah. Story 123. Oh, it was God will when something shoot happens or someone does something shoot. On the flip side, oh, it was a blessing. Story 124. Anything that uses a disability, real or not, as an excuse for poor behavior. For instance, I can't do X because I have ADHD. You didn't even try. Story 125. My ex-friend said I cheated on so-and-so, and I'd do it again. Same person also told me I'm only with them for the money. Right after they left the person they cheated on and moved on to the next person. Was talking to a potential friend, and we were talking about our kids, and they casually mentioned smacking their kids around when they were younger. Then this friend wonders why their adult children don't talk to them. Story 126. I was at a restaurant years ago with a friend I knew from school. We were both around 22 or so at the time. He was checking out this girl that was maybe 15 and was eating with, I assume, her mom and little brother. I pointed out she was definitely underage, and he responded with, "If there's grass on the field, play ball." I've never lost respect for someone so fast. Chewed him out, paid my bill, and left. Have never talked to him again, and don't ever plan to. Story 127. Teamwork makes the dream work. Said all the time by my coworkers who never really help out in any way. Story 128. Who cares? No one cares. It's a way to dismiss and invalidate others' opinions, claiming that tasks are irrelevant or not worth doing. Probably part of what's said when building subpar houses and such. Story 129. Your company must have thought a lot of you. Went on a trip for my job to Colorado. My WV roots show, but darn. Story 130. When someone says, I'm doing God's work, God is omnipotent. He doesn't need your self-righteous help. Story 131. Using retarded or gay in a derogatory manner, or just as verbiage in general. Just don't say it. Elevate your vocabulary. Story 132. Did I stutter? Not always immediate loss of respect, but people with speech impediments have been very open and clear about why this type of talk is harmful, equating speech impediments to not being understood. I understand that sometimes people are just unaware, and I try to use that as a learning moment. But I think at some point, ignorance is truly a choice. Please listen to the experiences of as many different marginalized communities as you can. There's always something that will make a space more welcoming. Choosing not to do that, learn and change. Deaf will make me immediately lose respect. Story 133. You just have to have trust in God. Not everyone is religious, and I'm going through a fudge hard time. Story 134. Everything happens for a reason when used as a helpful or even hopeful sentiment. I don't lose respect exactly, but it cracks the old drain. Story 135. Everything happens for a reason. No, it fudge doesn't. Sometimes bad shoot just happens, and you have to deal with it whether you like it or not. Story 136. IDK. But when they know they are good looking and think that everyone is attracted to them, or else they consider you crazy LMAO. When they brag about being a red flag with other people like, I used to treat this person like, shoot, but NVM, I could never do that with you. When they love bomb, idealize you, and when you don't meet their made-up expectations, you start becoming boring. Story 137. Gas, grass, or jerk no one rides for free. Me and my wife saw that on a car and laughed, saying we all know that guy never gets laid. Story 138. My truth or any derivative of that. Anyone who claims properties that should be easily observed or are better to be noticed than directly told. If you have to tell someone you are alpha or strong and independent, if you were, you wouldn't have to tell anyone. Story 139. Terrorist, particularly in debates. It's a highly politicized term. It's practically a thought-terminating cliche. It's basically just a propaganda since its definition is so vague. Story 140. Do your own research. Coming from a person that barely graduated high school when talking about subjects even educated people aren't completely competent on. Story 141. Had a coworker my age, early 30s, say to my face, I really don't get why there's a lot more gay people in TV these days. Over here with an obvious pride support flag on my water bottle like, I wish I didn't need this job. Story 142. When anyone speaks down to me, I do not care who you are or what you do. I've lost all respect for you. Story 143. That's who I am, as a way of saying, okay, I hear that you're offended by what I said or did, but it's who I am. A succinct way of saying they will neither apologize or change their ways. Story 144. I was head over heels for this chick. A good friend of mine and I mutually know. We met her at a music festival and she was coming to visit our hometown. He told me during a hike we were on, you're lucky you got to her first. Was I wrong to instantly lose respect and get mad at him over this? Story 145. What's your pronouns? How about not everyone wants to use a pronoun? And if they choose not to, it's not disrespectful. I never said I wouldn't use yours. I just personally don't care for pronouns. I am not offended by the public's perception of my gender. Story 146. Both parties, Dems and GOP, are the same. It's just a difference of opinion. Why can't we get along and just have different political views? Because you're a monster. Story 147. Sorry, not sorry. It's passive-aggressive bullshit, and people who say it are either looking for a reaction or get upset when people disagree with them. Story 148. Anyone who constantly tells you that they tell it like it is. No, Malcolm, you're just being arrogant, rude, and obnoxious. Not everything deserves your loud, brutally honest, derogatory, and needlessly cruel observation. FFS, we're just trying to get through the week, mate. Story 149. I work food service, and when someone comes up to the counter and says, "Oh yeah, and tell owner's name I said hi," he knows me to try and get free. Shoot one. I can guarantee you met him one time and that he doesn't remember you. 2. I don't give a fudge. 3. Your total is $21.57. Story 150. Why can't you smile for me? Some older men have said this to my daughters at the store, and while I get they think they are just making small talk, but it's so toxic feeling. Story 151. Scamdemic. There's been a few times I've heard that word and have not been able to take the speaker seriously after hearing that gem fly out their mouth. One of them was a person I was in a position to connect with some significant financial opportunities. But after that, nah. Story 152. You have to respect me. No, I fudge don't. Everyone gets the same base level of respect from me. If it goes up, I learn your name. If it goes down, it'll be better to leave me alone. Story 153. I ain't got no. A parent of classmates of my son said that multiple times in trying to tell her children that she did not have any spare cash. I can still hear it in my brain 20 years later. Story 154. I worked in the restaurant industry for a good bit, so out of habit, I'll gather the trash, silverware, cups, plates, etc., all together. I lose immediate respect when someone tells me to stop and that it's their job to clean the tables. Well, my bad for trying to help my server get their job done faster, so soon after I leave, they can get their next guest. It also helps the bussers. Story 155. When someone doesn't know how to use their, and their properly, or when they just throw apostrophes around like confetti. Story 156. I once had a guy I'd been talking to for almost 2 weeks and had a date planned completely bail on me because I used the word shizzle. Apparently that was hood speak, and I was no longer a viable dating option. It was so bizarre. Story 157. Nuclear instead of nuclear. Axe instead of ask. You may be a good person, but using those words will put you at the back of the line. Story 158. When slurs are used, especially in a joking manner, I lose respect for the person and would not interact with them anymore. Story 159. The C word. Saying they get easily triggered, calling a guy daddy during intimacy, or saying, choke me. Story 160. The amount of people commenting phrases that are dialect, spoken by people of color, of varying cultures, is appalling. That being said, I'd say, mine is Jesus loves you or I'll pray for you. Literally didn't ask. Story 161. I did my own research. Translation. I watched YouTube videos and ignored actual experts. Instant credibility killer. Story 162. I have a high IQ. Those people have low IQ. Basically, anyone who tries to brag or put someone down using the mysterious IQ. Most of the time, they haven't even taken an IQ. They just think they are smart, so assume they have a high one.